What up, y'all? It's your boy Ben here, and we're going to be diving into what's like the last meta report of the season with the set of the new release set to be out at the end of this month. We're excited to get some new cards, especially over the turnover with the new rings. So this is probably your last chance to really get some good gaming in if you are really just trying to achieve that emblem. Let me know if you've already got it down below in the comment section. We're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the time that we hit into June, and we're getting there ever so closely, y'all. So let's go ahead and make that happen. Hit that like, subscribe, and click the notification bell button. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the last meta report of the season. So up first, we have, as always, showing out our Darkrai Giratina deck. This consistency of a deck has been showing out literally week after week, putting up tournament results. This one being the winner of the last biggest tournament of the Ursi Day for Pokemon Pocket players. And just showing out, I mean, if you take a look at just kind of this here, Giratina Darkrai, Giratina Darkrai, Giratina Darkrai, Giratina Darkrai, right? Like in our top 10, there's literally 8 of them, right? Outside of 2 decks here. And so, and I'll just scroll down so that way y'all can see it. It's just kind of wild. It's just kind of wild that this deck has continuously have been able to put up numbers, consistently be able to put up numbers, and really just kind of take over that spot. So if you're really looking at what the best deck has been for this meta, and it's definitely this Giratina Darkrai EX. Now, we have its contender here with Gyarados EX here, which has been being able to combat that Giratina Darkrai, primarily because of this 140 HP attack here. Not only does it clear a Darkrai without a cape, if you attack it with red, it clears a Darkrai through a cape. If you attach your Rocky Helmet to your Manaphy or to your Origin Form Palkia, then that Giratina goes down to 110. I'm trying to do the math in my head because it loses 20 to itself as well. And so Gyarados is able to clear that. Also, being on top of 180 HP, it is literally living anything that your opponent can throw at it, so you're having that. This is opting out to run Mars in this deck. This deck went second place into the tournament, so that's pretty good, right? You're thinking about deck building. There's a Mars, there's 1 Misty in here as well. You're really using that Manaphy to build up your energy and getting that consistently. Oftentimes we're finding that the Manaphy is really more helpful in terms of what you're using to build up the Gyarados, because again, this is a 50-50 flip in order for it to work. But when it does, you're able to just kind of win games on the spot automatically as well too. So this has been a consistent deck pretty much, and it's kind of crazy to say that water is now consistent, and we're seeing that with the Gyarados EX. But speaking of water consistency, this popped up out of nowhere, y'all. We have the Manaphy Blastoise EX deck running with Articuno. And what's really cool about this Articuno here, this base form non-EX version of it, is that it has a 1 retreat cost. So while it requires 3 energy to attack, similar to Origin Form Palkia, Origin Form Palkia requires 2 energy. So in that instance, when you're thinking of Origin Form versus Articuno here, Articuno lets you retreat out into your Blastoise and start attacking right away from 160. However, for your Origin Form Palkia, you're really using that Palkia to get some damage in, some chip shots in case that they have some capes and things like that to go for. With Blastoise here, with a cape and a red, you're taking out anything, right? So Blastoise has that extra damage for that 160 there, so being able to go into it whenever you need to is pretty sweet. And if you can get a paralysis off, better for you. You're already flipping for coins when it comes to Misty, and now you get to flip with Articuno, making it that much more fun for you. And quite frankly, I'm really excited to see a Blastoise EX deck do really well in this sense, because Blastoise is my favorite one. Up next, let's go ahead and take a look at the Meowscarada and Magnezone deck here. This deck is also putting up numbers outside of our Giratina and our Darkrai decks, and it's just really interesting to see how this really plays out here. I find that on the games that I start with my Sprigatito, Crying for Help allows me to pull these cards out, which means my Professor's Research is more likely to hit any of the lines from my other stage 2. While you're building this up, as you've seen, Giratina Darkrai is everywhere, so therefore this 130 damage you're getting from your green kitty is quite frequent. And you're really hitting that a lot. That 60 also clears any Manaphy's or any Magikarps, and if you can get that out early, the Magnemites go into those water decks as well too, so that there's your clear advantage here. And these being all one price points, having to deal with 130 and 110 2 times, you know, like two each, still is a lot of damage onto the board while still having your opponent having to go through it. You being able to beat your opponent twice while they have to go through 3 of these, and that's if you're retreating and doing all those fun things. It's pretty tough for your opponent to keep up with that damage. And so let's go ahead and continue to take a look at this deck. This is a little spicy here. This deck was able to do numbers. I think for this sense here, you're definitely start running dark. A question of like, why choose the steel and Magnemite? Because like both of these are like same HP. I think I would run just this Magnemite here, just so that way I can get the 10 damage and just stick with the dark energy here, because like I would only run steel for 1, so this seems like more just like a dark energy type. You have your Dredgeon up front, Dragon, whatever, however you pronounce it. But you have your Giratina, you have your Darkrai, so you're powering this up. You're powering up your Magneton, you're powering up your Darkrai, and you have your Drud here to stall. This gives you 1, 2, 3 ways to attack. You having just even opportunities to Dawn, to get yourself an attack early with any of these Giratinas or your Darkrai, or even being able to get your Dread out of there much sooner than your opponent thinks, and then you start attacking outright from there. I think that's a really cool play here, to be able to retreat your Dread much earlier than anticipated, or also being able to use the energy that you're getting into your Darkrai, because if it's just dark energy, you're really just feeding your Darkrai, and then that's building up while these two are self-sustaining, so your energy can play out a lot of places. So that's pretty sweet. In terms of this is really taking a take on just like the Magnezone, Darkrai, and Drud deck that was of the past by adding in this Giratina in here. And I mean, if a card can self-ramp, why not use it? And so let's look at another ramp style deck here. We have our Moltres EX and our Charizard EX here in terms of like what's just doing really well. This is really cool to see because you kind of have an interesting mix of the split between new Charmander and an old Charmander, new Charmeleon, old Charmeleon, while still running 2 copies of Genetic Apex Charizard. Now, the really cool piece here, I think that allows folks to kind of want to play this Charmander here, is because this clears things like you do higher damage to an execute, and being able to clear that for 50 right here. And so like there's some wild eggs out there, so being able to clear that goes pretty far. You do have 1 copy of the Genetic Apex Charmeleon, because again you're attacking for 60, especially if you're league with Moltres, and then you get Sabrina up by any chance and you're ready to go. You have that 60 damage, being able to attack from there. But same old, ramp up with Moltres, get your Charizard EX ready to go, start attacking as much as you can for your 200, and if you ramp up to that like high point, you kind of get this pretty going turn after turn, which is like, I mean, as we've seen, nothing outlives this 200 damage, so once you kind of get there, that's pretty good. A lot of folks have used this deck, even though the play lines are very linear and you kind of know what you're doing every single step of the way. People use this in order for them to climb up. Up next, we have our Rampardos deck. That's right, this is definitely going to make it on the last season of the last meta report of the season, excuse me. So you're running your 2 Rampardos, you're running your 1 Sudowoodo, your 1 Marshadow, and your 2 Lucarios. This deck definitely was seen a lot more prevalent in the beginning of the season, and it definitely is still a very strong deck. You are running into a very heavy EX meta, and then when you're running into things like the Meowscarada and the Magnezone deck, you still have an advantage into that, being the sense that Meowscarada can only hit you for 60 and not 130, and when you're going against those electric types, you have the weakness advantage as well too, but you do also have some that are weak to grass, but you have some that will overpower that as well too. So this overall is pretty sweet. It's still very good. I think that folks really do like their basic EXs for their decks right now. Really trying to see, and hopefully that this new set release will change that up. And we start to see more decks like this style where you're like being able to pick and choose a lot of different play lines here. But very nonetheless, this is a very great deck to play with. And then speaking of different playlines, we have our Magnezone Skarmory deck. And this deck is also very, very powerful in terms of being able to attack early and very consistently, being able to attack for 50 with your Skarmory, or even just being able to go into turn 3 Magnezone attacking for 110. While this is building up on its own Volt Charge, while this only requires 1, you're then able to power up your Origin Form Dialga. For those of you who do not know what Origin Form Dialga means and does, and we can just zoom right on in here for you. Origin Form Dialga, 100 damage, time match, flip a coin of tails during the next turn, the Pokemon can't attack. It's 120. It's a big heavy hitter, and again, the key thing with these decks is that it is just 1 point. So again, you're running this inside of here. It's kind of like your boss mon, but really you have different opportunities here to attack for such heavy damage with your Magnezone, or attacking again with your Skarmory 2 times, and you're equaling up to that 100 damage. Then we have ourselves the Dread Darkrai Greninja build with a little Giratina EX splash on the side. Again, really looking to have your Dread here, and then it's just kind of like the deck of abilities, right? Greninja pops off for 20, Dread pops off for 20, Darkrai pops off for 20, and Giratina pops off for 20, but only really onto itself, not really onto anybody else. So, but this is still really spicy to be able to get those different kinds of damage output from everywhere. Having 20, 20, possibly 60 between the 3 of these really hammers in. Just kind of like, or not hammers in, really softens up your opponent's Pokemon for them to really get knocked out by Darkrai, and for sure to be cleared by this Giratina by the time that they get through this first Dread. And then we see our Executor, RCS-EX, and Carnivine line here, really using and opting to go with the non-EX version of Executor, so that way they have to go through a Carnivine, they have to go through an Executor, and then they can go through an RCS-EX. A lot of times you're probably using the RCS to kind of like just enable your Carnivine, and you're kind of powering up this Carnivine, you're powering up the Executor, and then you'll power up your RCS-EX. Really having folks go through 3 Pokemon is like kind of what this deck is really all about here. And then you can go from there. You might opt out for an Erica instead of a Pokemon Center Lady, because then you can like let these continue to live for even longer. But the Pokemon Center Lady definitely does allow you to heal up your RCS if you need to. So definitely a meta call here, but I think I'll opt out for the Erica, because I want to keep these out attacking for much longer, because by the time that my RCS-EX is in, hopefully I only need to knock out 1 more Pokemon, and therefore a Cyrus or a Sabrina is definitely more helpful there. And you know, like the RCS-EX is definitely like my last if needed card to go in there. So I think pairing that up with a Cyrus or a Sabrina for that final hit makes more sense than trying to heal it up. And then our last deck for our roundup is the Gallade EX. And this deck has been recommended by a lot of folks to like rank up, go through your Ultra Balls before, so that we can get to your Master Ball. For your rank and your emblems, this is a lot of like the Magikarps that try to hide behind things when your Pokemon are like powering up in the background. Hitmonlee is super helpful. When this gets cleared, being able to attack for 100 or 120 is super helpful. And as you've seen a lot of the Pokemon that are there, they do have 2 or 3 energy, and then with getting softened up by the Hitmonlee as well, this Gallade EX can definitely clear through a lot of Pokemon. Again, being able to go 1, 1, and then 2 right here, so going through 3 Pokemon is really essential. Or even if you're able to be on curve and attacking folks right away, can also really be good for you to do that as well too. So yeah, y'all, these are like kind of like the decks that we're going through. Just overall like the best decks that we've seen so far with this meta. Hopefully we get new cards, new basic EXs, new supporters, make some old cards good. Maybe we even get some reprints of some older cards, so that way they can rework some of the older cards. I would love a reworked Blastoise, but also just even some introduction of some cards like a Dragonite EX maybe. If you want to know more of my thoughts about that, there's a video on the channel of the cards that we would love to see. I hope you all check that out as well too. But as always, hit that like and subscribe button. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.